Cursed energy is negative. The stuff is only born from emotions like anger, sadness, humiliation, and even pain. These emotions just aren't fit for healing living people, and that's why you need to multiply the cursed energy first to create positive energy. With positive energy, you can now heal yourself and maybe other people, and that's what is the reverse curse technique. The concept here isn't too complex, but the video is going to be a little bit different. What if you tried to learn the reverse curse technique? Let's say you, and yes, you, literally you, were an actual Jujutsu Sorcerer. How would you go ahead and unlock the reverse curse technique? The reverse curse technique is incredibly complicated and surprisingly incredibly rare. But instead of gatekeeping the information, me, Jaded, who you should subscribe to learn how to perform RCT, is going to teach you how, if you were Jujutsu Sorcerer, how could you learn how to perform reverse curse technique? So the obvious step number one is going to be mastering your cursed energy flow to use RCT. Now, this video is not going to be how to use cursed energy, and that's a video that I'm going to make in the future. So we're just going to be talking about the parts that matter for performing the reverse curse technique. Now, you do need to have a fundamental understanding of how exactly to master flowing your cursed energy and how to exactly use it to activate different types of techniques like lapse and reversal. According to the fan book, all basic techniques are activated by something called a forward rotation. Cursed energy is basically just negative energy that is rotated forward and then released. The Japanese kanji for forward actually translates to junten, but in the English releases and what most of you guys are familiar with, it is mostly translated as lapse, right? So Gojo's lapse blue is just rotating forward and activating a blue. Every basic Jujutsu technique that isn't a reversal is activated through this forward rotation. Now, I will admit that this concept is basically lost on the English-speaking fan base because they don't say forward and they say lapse. But for you guys in the future learning how to perform RCT, all you need to know is that when you're using basic techniques, you're activating them through a forward rotation. The polar opposite of lapse is obviously reverse, which is what creates the reverse curse technique, which creates positive energy. Another really quick misconception is that the reverse curse technique, it is not literally positive energy, it is the thing that produces the positive energy, kind of like the process. That is the reverse curse technique. Now, the way that I explained that regular curse techniques work by rotating your cursed energy forwards, reversal or anything related to RCT is activated by rotating your cursed energy backwards. This is also why Yuji was so surprised during Gojo's fight with Sukuna that Gojo could rotate his cursed energy forwards to create a simple domain, while also rotating his cursed energy backwards to keep on RCT. The fact that Gojo can do both of these things at the same time is a very clear indicator that, like you would expect, he is extremely proficient at his mastery over Jujutsu. What makes using the reverse curse technique here insanely impressive, especially at the high level, is the fact that you're not just going to be struggling to perform the reverse curse technique because the multiplication process is kind of complicated. There's another component to that. Multiplying the cursed energy together to create positive energy requires an extremely delicate ability to manipulate cursed energy, and because of that, there's very few sorcerers who can even do that in the first place. This comes straight from the fan book, right? But what specifically is a delicate ability to manipulate cursed energy is a little bit debatable. Despite Gojo having the 6 eyes, which grants him greater cursed energy efficiency than Sukuna, then also having the ability to never run out of cursed energy and basically shoot an unlimited amount of hollow purples because of how efficient he is when activating these techniques thanks to the 6 eyes, plus the fact that Gojo is constantly, and I mean literally all the time, manipulating cursed energy on the atomic level, which is how the Limitless even works thanks to the 6 eyes in the first place. Even with all of that cursed energy efficiency glaze, Gojo still could not learn the reverse curse technique. Then there's Yuta, who has garbage cursed energy efficiency compared to Gojo, and this guy is literally stated to have bad cursed energy efficiency. Yuta still managed to perform RCT, and the crazy part is that Yuta can remove poisons, which is stated to be a higher form of RCT, and he can even heal other people using the reverse curse technique, which is something that Gojo is stated to not be able to do. This is all just to say that you're basically cooked. If this is something that just comes down to your understanding of cursed energy and your ability to manipulate it, then you're probably even more cooked, to be honest. Nanami, who also has the consecutive Black Flash record, which is stated to bring the user to a higher and even unparalleled understanding of cursed energy manipulation, has never been listed or shown to be a user of the reverse curse technique. You would think that a guy who seems to be so proficient at landing Black Flashes and even being hyper specific with where he tags opponents thanks to his ratio curse technique would have a delicate ability at manipulating cursed energy. Unless you just so happen to be Higuruma, who can seemingly learn it on the spot thanks to how much talent he possesses, you're pretty much cooked when it comes to doing RCT. But assuming that you did find a way to manipulate the cursed energy delicately, whatever that means, we can now talk about how to actually perform the reverse curse technique. This process is literally using real-world mathematics and the same form of multiplication that you used when you were in elementary school. I've said that cursed energy is negative, and because it's negative, you have to multiply the negative by another negative, which creates a positive. Cursed energy also starts with a -2. This is because Gege walked himself into a bit of a corner when designing the Black Flash, which means the lowest possible conversion, or the bare amount of cursed energy that you would need to perform the reverse curse technique, is actually -2 cursed energy. If you're really that trash and you don't even have 2 cursed energy, then you're just never going to be able to perform the reverse curse technique. So if you understood everything I said, you can now pretty much move on to exactly how you would operate the reverse curse technique. The first and very basic principle of reverse curse technique is the fact that it's going to start in your head, and more specifically your brain, and not your stomach. Cursed energy, or the standard negative energy, comes from the stomach, and you have to flow it to the rest of the body. Most sorcerers have to consciously make their cursed energy flow, and it's compared to a bad gut feeling, but everybody has cursed energy regardless of who you are, unless you're Maki. While cursed energy relies on bad instinctive gut feelings, positive energy, being the direct opposite to that, is only created by conscious mental focus. This makes a lot of sense to why it operates in your brain and not your stomach. The most famous application of the reverse curse technique is obviously healing yourself or healing other people, but that's going to vary between your ability as a sorcerer. While there are regular people like Slip and Jimmy over there who can use the reverse curse technique, there's also people like Sukuna who can reconstruct limbs, heal mild damage for others, and even himself. What exactly you can do with reverse curse technique is gonna vary between individuals. The most basic form of healing, and something that I think even Slip and Jimmy should be capable of, is gonna be mending and soldering his body back together. Gojo had done this to heal a cut on his neck, and Kenjaku had even restored both of his hands by just simply mending them back together. The more complex and seemingly harder applications of the reverse curse technique would be things like regenerating blood, recovering an entire limb, being able to regenerate the soul, clearing poisons, which is stated to require a more advanced form of reverse curse technique, and healing other people, which is something that Gojo can't even do to begin with. But what exactly makes these things more complicated? There's actually 2 reasons why healing others is more difficult than healing yourself with reverse curse technique. The first is that there's a fundamental difference between healing yourself and healing other people, and the second is that the body of the target could be refusing the treatment. There's 2 scenarios that could lead to this potential failure. The first is that the reverse curse technique user's cursed energy could just reject the process, and the second is that the patient/target's cursed energy doesn't respond to the conversion of positive energy to blood. This is exactly the reason why, even for Shoko, her success rate between patients is a very much case-by-case basis. Healing someone else also isn't even half as efficient as healing yourself, even for Shoko. Now, I'm saying even for Shoko a lot because she's pretty cracked at using the reverse curse technique. Shoko's reverse curse technique has always been fundamentally different from Sukuna's and Gojo. Sukuna also seems to imply that Shoko's reverse curse technique is actually greater than his own. Now, the other reasons for why the other aspects like healing poisons, recovering the soul, and even regenerating blood are a bit more complicated, I would say are actually linked. When Yuji recovered from 4 fatal attacks that could have ended his life using the reverse curse technique, Yuji forgot to account for the lost blood when taking these attacks. This is because Yuji needs to spread the blood throughout every corner of his body, kinda like a root, and visualize an outline of his body made with his own veins. There's also poisons, which are just stated with no context to acquire a higher form of reverse curse technique, but when Akari's fully automatic reverse curse technique from Jackpot ended up clearing the poison while completely unconscious, the main thing that Kashimo seems to be surprised about is exactly what it sounds like, the fact that Hakari can do it while literally being asleep. There's also regenerating the soul, which requires one to be aware of the outline of their own soul in order to recover and restore it using the reverse curse technique. What all of these things have in common is that they require a much more specifically navigated path for the reverse curse technique. All the more complicated versions of the reverse curse technique seem to require that they need the location or pathway of the targeted area, which all just so happen to be more complicated than just finding and thinking about where a basic limb in your body would be. Your heart, for example, is obviously an organ in your body, but it's also a location, just like the outline of your soul obviously being a location within the sorcerer, but also being a directed path for the reverse curse technique. That's also consistent with Yuji having to imagine veins, which seems to be harder than imagining where his leg or abdomen would be. Then that also explains why finding poisons would require a higher form of reverse curse technique. When you are poisoned, you don't actually know that the poison is in your body until it begins to take effect on you, just like Urame. Urame got completely cooked by Choso's poison, and it's likely because they didn't know exactly how to get rid of it or where in the body the poison was operating. This statement also mentions removing the source of the poison, so obviously needing to know where the source is located is pretty important. The panel is also seemingly showing a bloodstream, which means that could literally be anywhere in the body. Poison could be air in your lungs, it could be within your bones, and like I just said, it could be within your bloodstream, right? So there's a lot of places that you would need to look. The reason why you need to know where the outline of your soul is for similar reasons to visualizing your veins or locating poison. Reverse curse technique must be directed, and specific navigation is just going to add complexity and make it harder. This requirement for needing to consciously figure out where in the body needs healing also makes sense to why cutting off a person's head will definitely end reverse curse technique. This is the part where we can start getting into the limits and how to shut down reverse curse technique. Because reverse curse technique operates in the brain, if you destroy the brain in a single blow, you can end the reverse curse technique. While completely destroying the brain would definitely end reverse curse technique, that's also not the only way to end reverse curse technique. This counter is effective because it ends the connection between the body and the brain, and pretty much anything that can do that in terms of cursed energy flowing from one way to another will just end the reverse curse technique. Kenjaku, using these cursed spirits, was able to stop the connection between Hazanoki's brain operating the RCT and the healing that would be required for the rest of his body. Something interesting is that Hazanoki could still have an entire conversation with Kenjaku, which means that you obviously don't need to completely disconnect the head from the body to shut down reverse curse technique. Gojo says to Toji that he should have used the inverted spear of heaven to land that final blow to the dome, then said that he lost and that he should have fully disconnected his head from his body. Both of these options, as in using the inverted spear of heaven to land that blow to the dome and disconnecting the head from the body, probably would have worked in this scenario. No matter how powerful the reverse curse technique is, a single blow to the head can definitely end the opponent. There's also, like I said before, poison, which can incapacitate the opponent and stop them from directing reverse curse technique. This is also just another form of shutting down the brain. What is exactly a more advanced form of reverse curse technique is a bit debatable, and we don't really know. I would personally argue that Gojo's reverse curse technique after his fight with Toji and the 1-year training arc he went on would probably be the more advanced form of reverse curse technique, because Gojo having fully automatic reverse curse technique running in his brain around the clock at all times would mean that he would basically never fall unconscious like Akari. The reason why I'm not so sure is because I do think that finding the poison in the body and removing it is also an important part of it, which this doesn't really solve for Gojo. But regardless, whatever it is something that Yuta is at least capable of doing because he did heal Naoya from Choso's poison. The biggest and most relevant factor of healing the body using the reverse curse technique is the massive cursed energy drain that happens pretty much to anybody in the series besides Yuji and Choso. Ryu Ishigori implies that Yuta completely ran out and bottomed out of cursed energy completely because of using the reverse curse technique throughout his encounters with Oro and himself. Keep in mind that Yuta obviously has more cursed energy than Gojo, but even for Kenjaku, it's implied that he ran low on cursed energy because of domain and mostly, I would argue, reverse curse technique. Yuki thinks for a second that she might even be able to win the fight because reverse curse technique and his domain chipped away at his cursed energy. But why exactly is the cursed energy drain so intense when using the reverse curse technique? Firstly is that obviously when regenerating entire parts or organs in your body, you also need to account for the blood loss and you need to compensate for that while regenerating. Hakari obviously stinks and doesn't need to know how to do this because his reverse curse technique is fully automatic. Yuta does it purely off instinct, but Shoko converts cursed energy straight up into blood. Obviously she's not a bloodbender and she's turning it into positive energy before she turns it into blood, but you get the idea. Like I said earlier, Yuji and Choso have bodies that can just convert cursed energy into blood. According to Shoko, because of Choso's style, it's gonna be much easier than the normal reverse curse technique. Skipping the process of converting positive energy into blood is noted to be very cheap on cursed energy, and even going as far for them to say that the nerf is not gonna apply to them. They also call the cursed energy energy drain the main limiting factor behind the reverse curse technique, which makes Yuji and Choso's ability to convert cursed energy directly into blood pretty significant. But what's the best part of reverse curse technique? Is it the fact that you can heal yourself and recover from damage, or maybe even heal your friends and help them and fight together? What are you, a fucking baby? It's obviously curse technique reversal. This is probably one of my most favorite things within the series and my most favorite part of reverse curse technique. Like, this is so peak. You can completely reverse the effects of your own curse technique, and this is what Gojo is referring to when he says curse technique reversal in chapter 14. Gojo's blue, which is subtracting space and bringing things closer to him, becomes inverted, and red actually creates space and pushes things away. Reversal also is just extremely powerful within itself because it outputs twice as much cursed energy as the regular lapse rotation. There's a very interesting conversation that could happen between what exactly would be a reversal of a lot of techniques in the series that probably shouldn't have a reversal. Like, what would be the reversal of Yuta's copy technique? Is he just gonna be giving people curse techniques? Yuki's, I think, would be pretty interesting. It would probably be like Yuki removing mass from objects instead of adding virtual mass to herself to make things lighter. But the final main question that I will answer in this video is gonna be, what exactly would reverse curse technique even feel like? Well, something interesting to note is that reverse curse technique actually regenerates the bone, flesh, and muscle before the skin. This is different from somebody like Deadpool or Wolverine's version of regeneration, and we see this happen with Higuruma, with Yuta, and even when Gojo shows up in chapter 74 to fight Toji. So you might feel your nerves reconnecting while healing, and it's still going to be pretty incomplete, which means that you could experience the entire painful healing process accelerated into minutes instead of just a couple weeks. But to be fair, within the series, they don't really note that it causes a lot of pain to use the reverse curse technique, but it could just be something that's never mentioned. You all are extremely goated. I really do love you guys. I hope you really enjoyed the video. I want to make a video in the future on potentially how to unlock the Black Flash. I think that would be a pretty cool idea. If you have any ideas like this that you want me to do in the future, I think it could be a pretty interesting series. Have a great day and drink plenty of juice.